before we get into some of the dumb stuff, we spent a lot of yesterday's show talking Travis Konecny, the debate whether or not to re-sign him. But you were not here on your typical day, and you are now joining us today. So we're going to go back in time, pretend it's Thursday. What do you think of the Konecny debate right now? Where do you stand on Travis Konecny?
So I liked yesterday's show because I thought it was neat that Charlie was able to take kind of the team perspective. Because I think like all three of us kind of agree. Like we kind of all think that Konecny's going to get re-signed. We all kind of think that maybe that's not the best idea. We all kind of think maybe he's going to get too much money. So like it was nice to see Charlie kind of do devil's advocate so you two could have an actual conversation about Konecny. Yeah, I'm still kind of in the same place. I think they're going to do it. I don't think it's the best idea, but it's not going to be terrible. And it's probably going to be for more money than any of us want right now.
So here's my question for you, Kelly, because I would say, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I would say that out of the three of us, you tend to be the most optimistic about the team's chances of not being a dumpster fire all the time.
Yeah.
Coming from that perspective, coming from the perspective of someone who is generally more open to the idea that like, hey, the Flyers might be good this year, or like they might be good next year, or this rebuild might not take 5 years before they are good. Does that optimism make you more open to the idea that like, well, if this team is going to be better than most people think, maybe you can't afford to lose a Konecny?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to lead to me not being. I think like the burn it all down crew is going to be very upset when this signing inevitably happens.
I mean, it goes against everything they believe that the team needs, so it makes perfect sense that they will hate it.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to be like super pissed off when they re-sign him. Mostly because like I am very hopeful that this team will be competitive more quickly than the more negative side of the fan base thinks that they will be. So, I mean, hopefully if they do re-sign Konecny for 8 years, hopefully we have a team that can really use him in the next 3 or 4 rather than the next 6 or 7, because then that makes it a problem, I think. So it's all about, as usual, it's all about all of the other things that Danny Briere does. Like none of this can be evaluated in a vacuum, which makes it difficult because you don't know what he's going to do. So
it's fair.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get to this when we talk about the playoffs in a minute, but I think it fits in well with this part of the conversation. Let's say TK and Coots are here for the foreseeable future. We all believe that they're going to get this TK deal done sooner rather than later. And Couturier, if they can trade him, cool, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Like, the best thing that can happen in the Couturier situation is he's just kind of good for that.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the door is a little bit more open now to the possibility of Couturier at some point, whether it's now or a year down the road, being willing to waive his no-move clause. But that's just part one to being able to trade Sean Couturier, because first he has to be willing to do it. Then you have to actually find someone willing to take him, which is another question entirely.
And how long do you want to be paying some sort of retention? Because I don't know of anyone taking him at this price unless he's close to worth it.
Unless you're taking back a bad contract.
And at that point, like if he's close to worth it, just keep him. Like that's the. Right. So I'm looking at these two guys, and obviously, like Konecny's in his prime right now. So it's not, he's already, we're signing a guy who's already passed. Like, no, he's very good right now. But I'm looking at the Dallas Stars and what they have, and they have so much good young talent. They have these guys, Seguin and Benn, who have been there for fucking ever. Seriously. And it kind of looked a couple of years ago like, these are albatrosses.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
I don't know if they, like, not quite Suter Parisi, but like, it's kind of trending in that direction for this team. And now, with the good young talent around them, they are really good role players for this team. Like, yes, Seguin plays with Hintz and Robertson a lot. Also, he's like 7th among their forwards in ice time. Like, Jamie Benn's on what's kind of their third line. Like, they're really good, useful players, even though they're not what they were. Like, Jamie Benn won an Art Ross. Granted, it was like with 87 points or something.
The worst Art Ross season ever.
They shouldn't have handed it out that year, but it happened. And now it's just like he's a good veteran who's still decent for them. Is that the best case scenario for the long-term futures of TK and Coots in Philadelphia, Seguin and Benn?
I think it's the best case scenario for Coots. I think TK is a little bit different because he is, as you mentioned, he is still in his prime. The hope, if they re-sign Konecny, they're clearly hoping that in the first half of that deal, the Flyers are going to be competitive. Maybe not one of the top 3 or 4 cup contenders, but they will be competitive. They will be making the playoffs. They will be a team that at least has a shot at winning it all. Whereas Seguin and Benn, I mean, they are doing this very much in the past their prime. Like they're on a really good Stars team, and they are middle of the lineup guys now. I mean, you want to hear something really funny?
I do.
About this situation?
Yes.
Do you know it was 6 years ago when the Dallas owner called Seguin and Benn fucking horseshit?
Yeah.
6?
That was 6 years. It was in 2018.
I don't like that at
long ago.
all.
Wild.
That feels like maximum 3 years ago.
I know. It doesn't feel that long ago, but for whatever reason, I've this is very much an F around Friday conversation to have, but for whatever reason, the pandemic, those years have completely screwed up my sense of time. Because while those 2 years seemed incredibly long in the moment, now they also have me thinking that like something that happened in 2019 wasn't actually that long ago.
Yes.
And it was, like almost 5 years. Like,
yeah.
No, that's 2018 to 2023 was both 1 and 5 and 10 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Or
that
all
is
3,
a really
not
good
both.
way to put
But
it.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it is it was like, it all kind of just happened at once. And it was 20 years ago, but also it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, it's the weirdest, like, time's a flat circle situation.
100%.
My understanding, like, the 2017 draft, like, talking about the Stars, and, like, obviously it's the source of all of our frustration. Like, we talked a couple of weeks ago, like, there's an alternate universe in which the Flyers are the Dallas Stars. And, but
it was funny in our Discord yesterday. I forget which person in our Discord brought this up, but someone asked the honest question. And I don't think it was meant as a dig. It was an honest question because we were talking about, what was Chuck Fletcher's overarching plan? And I basically said, I think Chuck Fletcher's overarching plan in all seriousness was he was trusting Alain Vigneault. And then when Alain Vigneault flopped, that's when the whole thing fell apart because, like, that's why you go out and you trade away Jake Voracek and Shane Gostisbehere because they can't work with AV. He chose AV over everybody, and then AV burned him because AV wasn't able to coach a team well, especially after the pandemic. But then someone responded with, well, what was Hextall's plan? And my answer was, like, what was his overarching plan? And my answer was basically, it pretty much was what Dallas's plan was, except Dallas's plan worked because Dallas drafted well and Hextall either didn't draft well or didn't have the player development.
Whatever
but
it
like,
was,
like right now, like Seguin and Benn are what Hextall probably envisioned Giroux and Voracek becoming.
Absolutely.
With the next generation pushing them down the lineup in a way where they're still good. Like, both those players are still good players.
Yeah.
They're not great players anymore, but they don't have to be because now there's Jason Robertson and Roope
Right.
Hintz and Miro Heiskanen and even Wyatt Johnson and Logan Stankoven. Like, those guys have allowed Seguin and Benn to age gracefully. That was Hextall's plan. It didn't work because he didn't draft well enough, but had he drafted well, it could have theoretically worked.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think because we've seen it so many times, our instinct is to think that an 8-year contract is going to 100% be an albatross in the back half. Like, we just think like, okay, yeah, it's gonna suck at the end. It doesn't have to.
And even, but by the same token, and I agree, like, it doesn't have to be awful.
Yeah.
But by the same token, like, Seguin and Benn right now, like, they are not providing surplus value.
No.
Like those guys would not get $8 million if they hit the open market right now. That's not to say they're bad. They both of them probably would get $5 million per year, but they are on, objectively speaking, right now, if you're looking at just this year, they are on bad contracts. The thing is that Dallas has so many guys on good contracts, it doesn't matter.
They have young guys on ALCs. They have dudes on nice, like, good contracts. So, like, it makes up for it.
Right. It doesn't need to, like, ruin the team.
Exactly.
And that's what I was asking yesterday, like, with the Travis Konecny thing. Like, all right, say he's worth the money right now. Like, this isn't itself a bad contract. but where are the good ones that save us the money
Right,
that
yes.
allow us to go do the thing? Because that's
Yes.
the one thing Danny hasn't shown us yet.
Yeah.
Like I've liked the trades he's made. I like the plan. He's drafted well, so it seems. You know, we don't know, but it looks like it for right now. The thing we haven't seen is when do you win that negotiate? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
that's all. I just want to know when we get the team friendly deal, and maybe TK ends up taking less than we think. Like maybe this ends up being 8.25 rather than 9, and we're like, oh shit. Like I live with. You know, I still don't know if I just want to give him an 8-year contract, but I can live with it.
Yeah, I don't. One thing I really don't think is a possibility, just based on where this seems to be going. Would I be more excited about re-signing Travis Konecny if I thought you could get him on a 5-year deal? I would.
Yeah.
I do not think he is accepting that. Like, I just don't think that's in the cards.
No.
I think if you wanted to get him on a 5-year deal, you probably have to give him $10 million.
And he'd be, if he's gonna take, like if he's gonna take 5, just hit the open market and get 7.
Yeah.
Like 6, whatever, you know? Like just go, all right, well, if I'm not gonna get the 8, which is the bonus for re-signing before you hit the open market.
Yeah.
Like just go hit the open market.
Yeah. I just think there's an element too with these players where if the team pushes heavily on the idea of it needs to be shorter than 8, the player then starts to think, do you even like me? Like, do you even want me? If you think so low, if you think so low of me that you don't think I'm going to age well, then like maybe I am not actually wanted and I want to go elsewhere. And the Flyers clearly want to keep connecting, or at least it seems they do.
And like 8 years is so funny because like I think the maximum in the NBA is like 5.
I don't know the NBA rules well enough, but that sounds right.
I think it's like 4 and 5 rather than 7 and 8.
Okay.
And the NFL, like, yeah, you will sign you to a 20-year contract. Like, we cut you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, 8 years doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then, like, baseball's the only one that does longer deals, and it's because there's no cap. And it's like, well, we're giving you $1 trillion, so we want to spread it out over the lifetime of the earth.
Yeah, baseball very much like the teams in baseball operate under the assumption that like the world is going to end in 30 years. Like they very much do.
I'm never gonna have to pay this bill. I'm gonna be dead. It's kind of like when I signed my mortgage. It was like, good luck getting this from me. I wish I could go to a mortgage CS
That would have
now.
been so good.
But we don't have them today. No, but like just to get back to your idea of what was the plan. Like there was just an article the other day I saw that was about Dallas and how they like considered after 2016-17, like they end up drafting Heiskanen, they're high in the draft, bad year. They considered like tearing it down. Like we're starting over completely.
I read that article. It was a good article.
And then it was, and this isn't maybe as big a deal in Philly, but somewhat, like there are just financial restrictions. We cannot be bad for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like the team will fold. Like I don't think that would happen here, but it goes to show you that you don't maybe have to. Now, yeah, a majority of cup winners do have several guys, or at least one guy taken at the top of the draft. 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there. Yeah. But
well, and
Heiskanen did go at 3.
Well, and obviously the Flyers are hoping that Mitchkov, even though he's a 7th overall pick,
he could have gone 2 or 3,
and there's your top guy. There's your Heiskanen.
Yes. So, but like it does show you can do it other ways. Again, it's a tougher needle to thread. You have to make big hits like Jason Robertson. You need to find that. But it's doable. Mm-hmm. It is doable. As much as we've been on, like, listen, I wouldn't do it this way, but it's the way it's happening. Mm-hmm. So I can't just argue against myself when it's, you know what they're not going to do? Tear it down. Because they would have by now.
And because they've told us they're not going to.
Yeah, they legitimately, like Keith Jones and Danny Briere have both looked at us and said, we're not doing it that way. We don't believe in it. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Like, so that they're not going to do it. So either you can rail, you could scream at a wall.
Yeah, just be mad
and just be
forever.
mad. Or you can just be like, all right, well, if they're not going to do it that way, I really hope this way works. And let's evaluate them on what they're trying to do rather than what you think they should be doing.
And
in terms of overarching plan.
We all silly like the mayor.